thank you so much for joining me. So, Gary.
So much for having me.
So, Gary is one of the most talented people that I've ever met. He's a wonderful artist that blows my mind, and I'm very, very lucky that he's my friend and has collaborated with me on a new video for Hushabye Mountain from my Rhythm of Life album.
Yes, I think this is our third. This is our third video together, I think.
It's been a trilogy.
How does it feel? Let's Go Fly a Kite, and now Hushabye Mountain. Yeah. It's been fab.
It's absolutely fantastic. And one of the things that I would absolutely love to know is, when did you know that you were so good at drawing? Like, was it looking at, say, your friends or your family's pictures and thinking, wow, you know, mine looks better than that? Or
It was funny. It was an organic thing. My parents told me that when I was a baby, and they got a pen and they put it in my hand, and I started doing things that children do, instead of doing that like children do, I held it like that straight away and made marks and things that they recognized and could say, oh, he's got this ability to draw or whatever. So I could always draw. It was something I just did. I don't remember a process where it became something I did. It was something I was always doing. My parents said I could draw before I could write, and my dad used to sit with me when I was little, and we'd play games where he'd start to draw something and I'd have to guess what it was, and I'd draw something and he'd guess what it was. And he wasn't an artist, but he could copy things. I became aware, I suppose, when I was about 7 or 8, I suppose, that perhaps my drawings were different to other people's. I tell you the thing it was that I noticed, first of all, and other people would, it was noses. I would draw noses differently to other people. People would draw a face and they draw a nose and it would just look weird and flat. And the noses on mine, people would go, but the nose looks right. Why does the nose look right?
And when did you think to yourself, I hope this can be my career?
I think I always wanted to draw and just kind of assumed I would. I didn't know how or what, but I always wanted to be, as a kid, I wanted to be an artist, a teacher, or a stuntman. And I've kind of done all three over the years.
Wow. Stuntman sounds interesting. Oh my gosh.
I was part of a stunt live stunt show team. We used to travel around the country doing stunt shows and stuff. And
I didn't know this. Dangerous.
Sword fighting in Harrogate for corporate events and things like that, you know, and going to Great Yarmouth as a Bond villain and all this sort of thing. It was good fun. But then art was always the thing where I just sort of, because I just did it. Yeah. I kind of assumed that I'd just keep on doing it when I left school, but I really didn't have much thought as to how that worked. And when it came to the bit where the careers people came to school, you know, and said, oh, you're going to be in the army, you're going to be a banker, you're going to be whatever, which what most people were at my school, you know. It was just like, and they said, what about you? I said, well, I'm going to go to art college. And I kind of like, oh, I suppose I just said it and then started looking into it, and that's what I did, you know. So.
Do you remember what your first job was as an artist?
Yes, I do, actually. It was really interesting because there was a local printer, like photocopying and printing company, back in the days before we all had our printers and stuff at home.
Oh, yeah.
If you wanted like your Christmas cards or whatever, you'd go to a local branch of like a copy place and they could do printing and stuff for you. And I went in to get some stuff printed, and the guy who ran the place looked at my stuff and said, oh, this is really good. Could you do some cards for us? We want to do some Christmas. And I designed a range of like greetings cards for these guys, and they printed them and sold them and then gave me like some money for that sort of thing. So my first professional job was actually locally doing stuff like that. And then I found an agent quite quickly with my portfolio, and I got the first book I ever illustrated, which was probably about 4 months after leaving college, was called The Snoots Strike Back, and it was about some little kids, you know, and I illustrated that, and then it just sort of carried on from there. And then I fell into animation after that, you know, sort of accidentally. But I guess it is a sort of a passion now because it combines all the skills. Absolutely. But I love all the elements. I love filmmaking. I love acting, and I love drawing. And so animation, by definition, combines those things.
Of course. And do you absolutely love watching animations? Is that your favourite
I,
genre of film?
I suppose it is now. I mean, I grew to love watching them from doing it.
Yeah. You sort of
And
do you pick it apart? Do you watch something like Toy Story, but your mind is going, oh, interesting, they did that. Maybe I would have done this, and oh, that's like this.
unfortunately, yes, that does happen with everything that I watch, whether it's live action or animation, because I work in it. I guess I can be sitting watching a film and wrapped up in a story, and then go, "Oh, that was a good cut," or "Oh, look at that lighting," or you know what I mean, or "Oh, this shot's holding a long time. That's why they're doing that. Oh, that's interesting." You know, so there's always a bit of my brain doing that, while the other bit is in trying to enjoy the story.
I think that sometimes I'm like that with music, you know,
Mm-hmm.
instead of just letting it wash over me, I'm like, that was a beautiful vocal.
Yeah. Or when are they going to breathe? When are they going to breathe? How do they do that? You know, I mean,
Yes.
if ever, I think if you are, you know, a professional at a thing and good at what you do, like you are going to be like that.
That's very true. And when we talked to you about the idea for Hushabye Mountain, and we sort of, you know, like the theme was waving goodbye to the cares of this year and looking forward to maybe a more optimistic 2021, we hope. When someone describes with words, what is your process?
Yeah, I think in pictures. Some people think in words. Some people think with sound or whatever. And I think with pictures. So as soon as somebody starts talking about a thing, or I read a thing, it's like a movie starts running in my head. So yeah, I think I just had a very visual imagination. It's exactly that. You started talking about it, and as soon as you started talking about it, I saw the mountain. I could see the thing. I think I could see it. Oh, I could see a thing growing, and you know, it just sort of. And it's such a descriptive song anyway, and you know, you do it so beautifully that it wasn't exactly hard to sort of think of images. They just crash in. I just think it was just so beautifully clear that I just wanted to put down a really clean, simple visualization of what you were saying. Our first one we did when we did How Does It Feel, that was slightly more surreal. The images we put with that weren't exactly describing what you were singing. They were more suggested atmosphere and strange things going on that had less to do with the actual words of the song. Let's Go Fly a Kite was kite flying, but so it was, the images again weren't quite so tight, but they were all about flying a kite, you know what I mean? And then this one, it's literally, there's the mountain, there's the time passing, it talks about a boat, so there's the boat. I mean, it is kind of possibly the most literal of the collaborations, but the simplicity of the song cried out for that rather than anything too clever. That's how it felt.
It's interesting you were talking about that you see in pictures, because I do. So if someone says a word to me, I'll never see the word spelled. I'll definitely see the visual, and I think I daydream a lot and sort of see things in my head, but it doesn't mean that I can draw. Like, I probably could have imagined maybe something, the Hushabye Mountain, but no way could I have then made it actually happen.
But that's the difference, isn't it? I mean, throughout your life, you've got that visual imagination, say, but you've also had this facility that you're born with, and then you can train as a singer. You're born with a set of pipes genetically you're lucky you've been born with, in the same way that I'm born with an ability to use my hand in a way. And then by practicing the drawing, by practicing the singing, we get better at that thing. So that's the route that you've gone down. You've trained that part of you, but in your head you still got that bit. I love music. I hear music. I can hold a tune. I'm not a singer like you, but I can hold a tune, and but I've not trained that part of it. I was in a choir and all that, but I've not trained the way you've done. So I can't sort of jump into a music situation and go straight, you know, do you know what I mean? So
we did, didn't we? We did.
Well, we did.
Duet partner for the prayer at the Archway Theatre in Crawley on my Stars Rising tour, and that was lovely. Did you enjoy that?
It was the most terrifying thing I've ever done in my life, and I loved every moment of it. I think I was terrified. I've done so many plays. I've played huge lead roles. I've played in musicals. But it's always been on my terms. And to be honest, I was stood next to you on that stage, and you're such a phenomenal singer. And I was thinking, oh my God, I've got to sort of follow. And you start the song, and you get to it, and it's my bit coming up. I think now I've got to follow that. My legs were vibrating like. I'm surprised I didn't have some incredible vibrato going on in my voice, but from the waist down, I was shaking. I think my hands were quite steady, but
Yes,
all the shaking went into my legs. My legs were literally quivering with fear.
You were so cool and just singing it out.
I'd also had a really bad throat for like 2 weeks before, and I was up until the day before, I didn't think I was going to manage to actually get a sound out. And I remember being backstage while you were doing the first part of the show, and I was gargling whiskey just to sort of. But it went all right. It went all right, and I loved every moment of it because it was such a treat. When you work in anything in the arts, when you're drawing, when you're working on a film, when you're singing a song, if you're working with people who are better than you, it pulls you up. I think you either go, I can't do it, and you go back, or you go, no, I'm going to try. I've got to up my game. Yeah. And I think that's what it did for me that night. It was like I need to up my game here because this you know, this just got real.
I'm so glad that you did it, and I even that evening made it into one of your doodles, which is very exciting.
It did. Yeah.
My red dress.
And it was a beautiful memory as well, and because it was only about 2 or 3 weeks before Joy died, I think, and it was the last thing she saw me do. I remember she was sitting next to one of our friends, and they said that she was squeezing their hand really tightly, watching, because she was really nervous for me and everything. So it's a lovely memory for me in that respect as well, you know, because it was the last thing she ever saw in a theatre, you know.
And speaking of Joy, this year the most beautiful book, Finding Joy, was something that you created. Tell us a bit about that. That's a lovely positive thing to come out of.
Thank you. Well, there it is. This is totally unplanned. But yeah, I just happen to have one over there. So yeah, it's so I do this doodle diary every day. And I had been doing it for a while before Joy died, and I kept doing it after she died, and it became a kind of self-counselling for me. And it's a thing where every night I sit and I do a drawing that sort of unpacks my day. It's like a mindfulness moment, and it's a way. I found it a way of working through my grief, and then sharing how that felt with people, and also sharing things like single parenting and stuff like that. And it's a right roller coaster. And there are some sort of, you know, deeply sad ones, and there are some very funny ones, and I wanted to chart my life mainly for me and for the kids. And what happened was it took off on social media and became sort of this big thing.
It gave comfort to so many people. It just sort of grew and grew and grew, didn't it?
Yes, and I got these lovely messages from people saying how much it was helping them and all that sort of thing. And then I got approached by some publishers who said, look, we think this is a book, we'd love you to do a book. So we worked on it this year. And what we've done is I do the drawings on brown paper, and they've created the book with these lovely brown pages, and it's the same size as the sketchbook. So the idea is that when you're looking at it, it's the closest you can get to actually holding the actual sketchbooks that I do the drawings in. But it's been a lovely thing to do, and it's an incredible legacy for Joy. You know, that our love that we had and this incredible relationship we had, you know, was taken away from us. But out of that death, we've been able to help so many other, I say because, you know, she's done it with me, helping other people, and it's just this lovely sort of legacy of love, really, for her, that I'm so proud of it. Yeah.
Do you feel like you ever turn to music for comfort? Like, do you listen to music a lot at home? Is that something that you do?
Yeah, I mean, not as much as I used to, simply for practical reasons. I think one used to listen to music a lot when we were first together, or we didn't have kids, or when, you know, we'd put music on and you do stuff. I mean, these days life is just so crazy. It's very rare to go, I'm going to put some music on, and you sit there. The only time I sort of, it's in the car, or when I'm trying to go to sleep, and you put someone and you go. But occasionally, yeah. I mean, I try to do it a bit more these days. Now the kids are a bit older as well, and I don't have to just put on the wheels on the bus or something like that. I can actually, I do find myself listening to stuff. And in fact, I've got some old vinyl, and a couple of years back, I bought myself a new, like, record player, like, and I've got the old vinyl out, and I sometimes sit and I'll put old records on, and Ben, he loves the old stuff. I was putting on Ziggy Stardust and Duran Duran and stuff like that, and he'd be like really enjoying it. So I'm loving doing that a little bit now.
Does it ever inspire your art? Do you ever listen to a piece of music and then you see something in your brain, and you think, right, I've got to draw that?
That's interesting. I do sometimes use music to create a mood. If I'm working on an illustration project, say, or an animation project, where I don't have to use the thinky part of my brain. See, a lot of the stuff I do in animation, I'm having to deal with words and stuff and dialogue, so I can't have anything on because I have to really concentrate on what's happening within the thing. But if it comes to a thing where I'm just creating atmosphere, and it's more with illustration than it is with animation, so I will quite often put on music that will conjure that. Like I love film soundtrack music. I listen to lots of film soundtrack music, and I've got a massive collection of movie soundtracks. So I'll put music on that is kind of fits with the atmosphere I want to create in the drawings, if you like. We love Portrait Artist of the Year. We would sit and watch that all the time. I love it. Claire Balding.
That's amazing. Oh, Noel Fielding.
Yep, Noel Fielding, there you go. Rankin, the photographer.
Wow.
This is a guy from the Goes Wrong. This is one of the Henrys from the Goes Wrong show. Stranger Things, cop, bloke.
Wow.
Oh, there was that author lady, Bernadine. So there was all these sort of, I started doing all these paintings.
Another thing I wanted to ask you was, so last year, obviously not this year because it wasn't possible, I was going into schools and doing my Rhythm of Life workshop, which was to, introduce children to classical music, because it's very much in crisis now, the school situation with the music education, because in some schools the funding is just completely cut. But what I find interesting, and I even had a conversation with a brilliant headmistress about this, art is always firmly on the curriculum. And to me, and I don't know if you feel this, as an artist who it's your job, it's your career, do you not think that music and art are, in terms of education, are really similar? Absolutely. I mean, I think the arts in general are so vitally important, and I think we've seen this over the course of lockdown. If it hadn't been for the arts and all the things that brings, it would have been very hard for people to endure. And this is what's so galling now about how the arts are being treated during the course of these lockdowns, about what's seen as important and what's seen as isn't. Despite the fact that it was glaringly obvious that for people's mental well-being, all that sort of thing is important. But I mean, it's proven, isn't it, that that children who learn music and have music lessons function better in other classes because it stimulates different parts of the brain. You can even do maths better if you learn music and things like that. So I think it's absolutely, and it's about self-expression, and it's doing art and doing music doesn't mean you're learning to be an artist or a musician. It's just freeing up parts of your brain that fire it off into other areas of creativity and knowledge. And I think it's absolutely vital that it should be encouraged and taught. I've got a little game that we're going to play.
Oh my goodness, okay.
A little game. This is a quick fire, would you rather?
Oh my Lord, okay.
Okay, so here we go. Beatles or Rolling Stones?
Stones.
Les Mis or Come From Away?
Come From Away.
Gary Barlow or Robbie Williams?
Do I have to choose either?
Is that a no to both?
I really barely know what they do.
Kylie or Madonna?
Madonna.
Madonna.
Because there's more variety, I think.
Folk music or choral music?
Draw. I literally can't choose between those.
Hip hop or grime?
Hip hop.
Alexander Hamilton or Aaron Burr?
Aaron Burr.
Frodo Baggins or Samwise Gamgee?
Sam.
Hot tub or deep tissue massage?
Hot tub.
An hour's chat about sport or an hour's chat about Brexit?
Both of those is like having bamboo splinters shoved under my nails, so I'd rather not talk about either. Can I just be running in the opposite direction as fast as I can at that point? And
who would win the cute contest out of Baby Yoda or your cat?
Oh, Baby Yoda.
Really?
My cat's not cute. He's a thug.
One of the things that I asked you was to choose your absolute favourite piece of music that was super special to you. So tell us, what did you choose and why?
Well, it was an interesting question. It was quite a hard one because there's some beautiful choral pieces that I absolutely adore. There's some incredible folk tunes I adore. There's soundtrack pieces that I adore. There's pop songs I love. You know what I mean? You know, stick a bit of madness on, I'm going to love it. You know, but I went for a piece of music that is very special to me, and which will become very clear. And it's Come What May from Moulin Rouge. And it was Joy and I's first dance at our wedding. It was our song. It's such a beautiful, I mean, I love the words in it are extraordinary, and they are so poignant to me now. And it's a piece of, I literally can't get through the song anymore without crying. I mean, but the tears now are tears of a wonderful memory rather than tears of overwhelming sadness. But it was our song.
Thank you so much for talking to me. It's been such a pleasure having a chat with you.
Thank you. And keep safe, everybody.